start off. Let's talk about Goodwill. The name has been around forever, at least it seems that way, and such a great organization. Tell us about the inner workings of Goodwill. I mean, people know the name, but maybe they don't know exactly how it works. Tell us about Goodwill.
Goodwill was invented in 1902 in the United States, and it has a basic philosophy of a hand up, not a handout. Through people donating used household goods and clothing, we retail that and create tremendous job opportunities and career development for, here in Alberta, Albertans with disabilities. We are now the largest and fastest growing Goodwill in Canada. We are one of the largest employers in Alberta of Albertans with disabilities, and we do that through a non-taxation, non-government support business model. So we're called a social enterprise. We are a registered not-for-profit, so we can't make profit, but the profit that we do make, we invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into the millions of dollars actually here in Alberta and the Tri-Region with our operation here in Spruce Grove into creating career development and job opportunities. Some people with disabilities, they might be 30, 35, 40 years of age and never had the opportunity to go to work, never the opportunity to get to know people outside of where they may live. And we're very proud of what we do at Goodwill. We're creating opportunities. We believe we're strengthening people, families, and communities, all through the ability to take what a lot of people will discard, and through a very effective retail machine, we create social good.
What is it like when you see, like you said, there's some of the people that are in their 30s that have never been able to work before, and that's something a lot of us maybe just take for granted. What it's like to have that pride of doing something, having a job, contributing. What is it like to see that in a person's eyes?
It's absolutely inspiring and moving every day. I have the pleasure of working at our headquarters on the south side of Edmonton, and I go downstairs into our processing area, our store, and hear these stories of people, again, never given the opportunity to go and experience a day at work. Now, not all of us love every day at work. There's challenges and there's drama and there's things at work that we would, perhaps not like to have there. But to wake up, to feel proud that you're able to go and contribute, to use your skills and your abilities, that means a lot. And if you haven't had that, if you graduated high school and all your friends went on to opportunities in the work world and otherwise, and you didn't get that opportunity, that really is a drawdown. There's networking at work, there's social interactions, there's softball games, there's potlucks at lunch, there's getting to know people, and those people at work can sometimes be your best friends and allies for times when it's tough, especially if you're perhaps living on your own. Your support network might be at work. So yeah, we're very, very proud of those moments when somebody, again, never given the opportunity to go to work, can come to work, and through the working environment we create, very supportive, very conducive to success, we are focusing on their great futures.
How do you end up in the Alberta legislature?
So Travel Alberta had its head office for the north in Slave Lake. So I got to work there for a couple of years. I was in charge of all of Alberta's hunting and fishing promotions in the United States. So I got to do some neat trade shows down there. And also with Travel Alberta, got to put together some Aurora packages for Fort McMurray and Fort Chipewyan, so for the Japanese market. So we competed against Yellowknife and some other jurisdictions in Europe to market the Aurora Borealis to the Japanese. And so that was a neat experience, and being able to market to Japan. So I worked a couple of years with Travel Alberta. Then Pearl Callahayson was the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development, based out of her constituency, Slave Lake. So I got to know her over the years, both with Travel Alberta and my work with the town of Slave Lake and stuff. So she was looking for a chief of staff for her office at the legislature, and so she phoned me. And you typically go through the legislature and various departments within the government and the legislature itself to move your way up to chief of staff. And what she was looking for is what she called it, an outsider. So, and somebody that she had a comfort with. So I knew her from there. My dad knew her from various work at the provincial level and stuff. So I got the opportunity to go to the legislature and experience what it was to spend a couple of years under Ralph's dome, as he used to call it that. So Ralph Klein was a tremendous, tremendous gentleman. So I got to work close to him as well. There was an opportunity to move towards his office before I got an opportunity to go elsewhere. So spent some time in the Premier's office and getting to know how that all works and stuff. So.
Was he a straight shooter like he came off to be?
Absolutely, absolutely. I consider him one of the most incredible people I've ever met. A true gentleman. He liked the lifestyle that he led and was very successful, I think, in doing a lot of evening negotiations with a lot of businesses and provincial associations. He liked working from about 10 in the morning till 10 at night, but he didn't like the pre-10 o'clock in the morning part. But at the legislature, he was very down to earth. A couple times I would be walking through the legislature and have my head down reading some material, and I'd pass him by and he'd say, "Hey, young buck, how you doing?" I look up and, "Oh, hi, Premier." But he'd be with his golf shirt on and a pair of pants. Well, obviously he'd have a pair of pants on, but just a golf shirt, not a suit. So,
you sure he wasn't going paddless around there?
No. I did find him one time in a very awkward position, and I don't mind sharing that here. There's a weight room in the bottom of the legislature for training and stuff, and for whatever reason I thought on a Friday evening I'd go in there, and I should have been going home or doing whatever, but so I went in there to train, and there was Premier Klein with a barbell across his chest, and he couldn't get it off. And he said, because I knew him, Pearl Callahayson and him were very close. Colleen Klein is Métis, and Colleen and Pearl are very close. Pearl is Métis as well. And Premier Klein was very instrumental in Alberta and really Canada for developing positive working relationships between the indigenous community and the provincial government. So I got to know him that way quite a bit. So when I found him with the barbell across his chest and he couldn't get it off, he's big baggy sweats and a sweatshirt, I said, "Premier, you're not looking like in very good shape." He said, he had some colorful language for just get the barbell off my chest. So,
well, he was lucky that you came along and not Ray Martin, because maybe Ray would have just left that barbell right there.
You never know.
You never know.
At least.
How did you become a president of a First Nation?
Well, I wasn't president of the First Nation. I was president CEO of their group of companies. So the Mikisew group of companies are based out of Fort Chipewyan, the oldest community in Alberta, 300 kilometers north of Fort McMurray. So when I was with Travel Alberta, we did 2 film jobs for Discovery Channel, film shootings. One on the Lake Athabasca and one on the Peace Athabasca Delta. So we did 2 film shoots for German film crews for the Discovery Channel. And I met the chief of the Mikisew, who is an incredible man. His name is Archie Walkman. Well, his name's still Archie Walkman, but he's not the chief now. But anyway, a man that was raised on the land, that did everything by his hands, just an absolute visionary for both business and a society. So when I was up there, we got to know each other. And he said, "If you ever want to come up and work for me, just phone." So when I was at the legislature, I was there 2.5 years with the minister, and my dad became ill. And my dad he was ill for a couple years, and he left his opportunity developing the Olympic development program for Alberta, sort of Alberta's positioning for international sports. And he developed a wonderful program called the Alberta Future Leaders Program, where he studied the best practices from around the continent of using sport and recreation for Métis communities, First Nation communities, to develop leaders. And as he said, the philosophy of stealing second base instead of stealing a car, that was the intent, was through sports and recreation you could develop tremendous young people that perhaps didn't have other opportunities in their more remote communities. So he encouraged me just before he passed away to go make a difference. And he actually talked to Pearl Callahayson, and she visited him in the hospital because he was has a certain period of time left in his life, and he encouraged her to, encourage me to do something like that. So one day, Pearl and I were flying somewhere, and she said, "You got to go do something else besides follow me around 24/7." So I decided that'd be pretty neat. So I phoned the chief and I said, "Hey, chief," and the rest is history. So I worked for the Mikisew Cree for 10 years, started off doing their tourism strategy and marketing, tourism strategy for Fort Chipewyan, again, the oldest community in Alberta, way up in the northeast, and then marketing their 8 companies. They had hotels and construction companies, Canada's largest fly-in sport fishing company, and airline and stuff. So I got to do the marketing for all those companies, and then one day they made me the CEO of all the companies. And for the last 5 years before Goodwill, that's what I did.
From that position, how did Goodwill come out? How did you become the president of Goodwill Alberta?
I'll be honest. After 10 years of working for a First Nation, an election came along. And when we were very successful, and that community had a couple, say 3 big families within the electorate of the First Nation. And when you're successful, you are branded to be part of the family in power. So an election came and changes were made. Changes at the First Nation level, and then changes were made at all the levels of management within the First Nation. So I had 10 years there. I was still to this day one of the longest serving non-Aboriginal managers. I'm very proud of that. Was exposed to a lot of neat cultural and significant spiritual things, but they saw a need for change. So where did I go? I had an opportunity right after working with the Mikisew to go to Queen's University to the Executive Development Program. It's about a month long, it's full immersion, and it was a tremendous enhancement to what I had done in the past in terms of the businesses and things that I was exposed to. And while at Queen's, I thought, I got to do something. I got to come back from Kingston and figure out what I'm doing next. So I emailed some people, and one of the people I emailed was the interim CEO of Goodwill. And he said, when you get back, you got to come in and let's have a conversation. Now, he was interim, so he didn't have a say in next steps, but I was introduced to Goodwill at that point 4.5 years ago and competed for the job and still have it.
And loving every minute of it.
Absolutely love every minute of it.
Because every time we talk, you can see the passion in your eyes about what you do and what Goodwill stands for.
It's hard work. And Brenda's here too, she's part of our team, Brenda Horlick, she's one of our stars. She'll probably say similar. Going to work and being excited about going to work and making a difference on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, there's very little else I think that can inspire such. Maybe if you're an open heart surgeon, or maybe if you're giving away, presenting lottery winnings to lottery winners and stuff. But to go to work and know you're making absolutely such a difference almost every moment of the day, it is very inspiring.
Exciting news for Spruce Grove and Goodwill, because you guys are looking at expanding. Tell us about that project.
Very excited. Yes, we're expanding our little gem, as we call it. We have stores all over Alberta, and Spruce Grove is one of our smaller stores, just because of the property we were able to get back when we first got it. We're expanding to how many thousand to 3,000 square feet. Brenda's over there. So we're doubling the size of our footprint. We will go bigger and better down the road. That store started off as a donation center, and that's what it was intended to be in the first place. The interest of Tri-Region residents to see a retail element put on top of that supported us a couple years ago in opening the store. And it was never intended to be a store, that's why it's small as it is. So we're adding a couple thousand square feet to bring it up to over 3,000 square feet. We'll renovate this summer and open early this fall. So
you talked about your dad and how he, said to you, make a difference in the world. Your mom also is making such a difference in the world. I had a chance to talk to her today, by the way. Wonderful lady, absolutely adore her. Part of the Rotary. Your dad was a part of the Sports Council, Alberta Sports Council. Tell us the influence. They obviously had quite a bit of influence, not only on you, but your brother and your sister, who also is doing public service in Leduc. Tell us about the influence of your parents.
Oh boy. Where to start? Mom and Dad were disciplinarians, especially Dad. Dad was an athlete, and I believe his success in sports helped him to understand what hard work meant, what preparation meant, what attention to detail and focus and commitment to a cause, whatever that cause may be, your team or your community or otherwise. So we were raised with strict discipline. We knew what the parameters were, and we stretched those sometimes. And a little old school, Dad with discipline, and I respect that. Mom was a little different with her discipline. It was either a wooden spoon or and she broke a few over our backs, and we laughed hard, and she didn't like that part. So most of them were trying to steal a cookie dough that wasn't yet cooked, so she'd whack us with the wooden spoon. So we were raised a rural family, and I think the values of rural Alberta and small town. And there was expectations. We were a family unit that we all needed to contribute. Dad and his 1,000 hills of potatoes, and thinking that he needed to supply farm fresh produce to every relative that but he loved it. I didn't understand at 16 why hilling 1,000 hills of potatoes was fun. It was his recreation, not mine. So tremendous upbringing. I don't know what else I can say. Both of them were very successful in their careers. Mom took time out from hers to be at home for all the things as kids we needed, and she volunteered lots in the community, and we learned the role of and what volunteers can do through both of their work, and now we all volunteer too. I was very proud and excited to be on the board of the 2012 Alberta Winter Games when we hosted them here, and so contribution to community, whether it's volunteering or being in a social enterprise, we got that from our upbringing.
We're going to wrap things up here. Before we go, Dale, words of wisdom. We always ask this question to everyone that we interview. We got a great group of people here that really enjoyed hearing what you have to say. You've been tremendously successful. What's your words of wisdom? What's your life advice to someone young, maybe a young entrepreneur, someone who coming up in life? What would you say to them? This is the success, the key to life.
Oh, I wish you'd have given me that one in advance. I think, and I heard this at a gathering of CEOs a week ago, and I hadn't thought this through until this CEO said this. He developed when he was younger, he developed a personal philosophy, a brand for himself, in the community, at work, and within his family. And what he said was that brand, built on the certain principles and values, is what he thinks about with every major decision he makes in business, in volunteering in the community, and everything else. Selection of where his son was going to university and otherwise. So I think the word of advice I would give is figure out who you are, figure out what your philosophy is, and develop it, refine it, and champion it. And everybody has a different brand, but I think in this day and age of social media and all the distractions in life, you could literally go through life not really understanding who you are and not necessarily what you're doing or why you're doing it, but you need to figure out, I think, what your brand is, and hone it, develop it, perfect it, and from that, have that guide you with everything that you do. You'll become known for it, and so that I think that helps you become known in the community for whatever it might be, leadership or success or commitment to causes or otherwise. But figure out that brand and the values that support that, the platform of that brand. Figure it out, and from there, that will guide you with everything you do through your entire life. So I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely did. I think that's a great piece of advice. Absolutely. Well, Dale, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you here. I usually normally interview Becky on the air, not you, so it's really a pleasure to get a chance to get to know you a little bit better. I got to say, on behalf of everyone, the commitment you give back to our communities is really appreciated. I love the pay it forward attitude that you have, and the great work that you guys do at Goodwill. Thank you guys so much for all the stuff that you do. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Graf.